a limited on the intro side Bluegrass Soccer Cast, your home for all things soccer right here in Kentucky. I'm, of course, Jimmy Martin. That's, of course, Mr. John Hunt. John, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good, Jimmy. How are you?
I am good. It has been a Monday of Mondays, and I am ready to talk about some soccer. But before we dive into things, John, I saw a bunch of pictures of you from last week and over the weekend. Was part of that Lexington Sporting Club black kit reveal and part of that advertising campaign. How in the world did you get involved with that?
Um, Basically, well, two things. The club as a whole is trying to find perks and stuff for season ticket holders and active members of the Railbirds, which are the supporters group. Just in general, because every time I've asked people about joining and stuff, it's like, well, what are the perks that come with it? So it's the common American thing. People don't want to do extra work without benefit. Um,
What?
yeah, and so basically that's how they did it. They wanted to do a fan one more with fans type thing than just players as a whole, because it also helps in general for people to see like it on different people and like what the fan kit looks like compared to the player kit, which ours is not that much different. We don't have the league patches, and there's
Right.
not Lex doesn't have like you can't buy player jerseys yet. But
But I can't wait till they do because there's some kits that I'm eyeing. I think the black kit with starts with a D. I just dropped his name. Holy crap! Help me out. Doof.
Delamine,
Nope.
oh,
Doof.
Ates Diouf,
Yeah, Doof. There it is.
Diouf.
I really would like one of his jerseys in black because after his performance last week, that was jersey worthy.
I think in general right now our main jerseys need to become the black jerseys.
Oh, they were so sweet.
Um, but yeah, we don't have that. But I will say for those who haven't bought Lex kits yet, they are authentic full, like we get exactly what the players get minus the patches and the name. So it's not like that you're paying $100 for a replica kit, which I've had to explain to people
Yep.
before. Like there's very much a difference. Well, I can buy this $70 Spurs kit. I was like, does it say replica or pro or authentic or whatever? They're like replica. I'm like, that's a different kit. There is a cheaply made kit of the original. You can't compare the two.
Yeah, and people get the impression that your NFL jersey, your NBA jersey, they all come in like 3, 4 different grades. But for whatever reason, with soccer, we think the cheap $70 kit is the exact same as the 150, $200 kit that some teams will sell.
We think it, and we also, for some reason, think that lower league should be cheaper, like
Mm.
considerably cheaper. Like I've seen some people argue that the Lex kits need to be no more than $50. And
Oof.
I was like, there has to, like I told this person, like, we don't know how much Nike and how much Lex are making from each kit. Like we generally don't know. We don't even know that for even the biggest clubs. It's speculated type thing, but we don't know exactly how much is brought in per kit. I was like, they still have to turn a profit. Like I can
Right.
tell you right now, Lexington is in the black in terms of money and that type of stuff, just because it's their first year, the deal with Georgetown, all that stuff. That the
Right.
club, from all I've heard, is in the black. So I've told, why do they need to actively choose to make less money when they are on par with the rest of the league? The only people in the league that are cheaper than Lex are the Hummel brands, which are 85.
Hmm.
All the Hummels are 85, and then everyone else is around 100, $110. So it's literally a $15 range that, and they're in the middle. We're cheaper than Lou City. Lou City's at 110,
If
and
they
we're like,
even have jerseys on sale.
yes. And then I think Racings are 90, 95. So they're literally on par, and they're cheaper than FC Cincinnati. They're on par with every club around them.
Well, that's
So
because the MLS hike price, all of that package that goes into help paying Messi play for Inter Miami. Um, so every jersey you buy. So to my friend Tanner, who is probably going to buy another FC Cincinnati jersey, I thank you very much as an Inter Miami fan because you're helping pay to keep Messi here. Thank you, buddy. But anyways, with all of that, John, let's go on and start today's show by mixing it up a little bit. And let's go to the bottom line first this week. So, John, we're going to start with Louisville. And as I said in my article that we released a little bit ago, I want all Lou City fans to just take a deep breath, relax a little bit, and let's not jump too far down the conclusions platform. Let's not start going crazy saying that we need to fire our coach and cut all our players, and don't need to do any of that. But what in the world is going on in Louisville? I say one thing and then I completely act the opposite. Um, they have lost 3 league games in a row, 4 overall in all competitions. And overall, Lou City seems to have a consistent issue of a lack of offense, a very vulnerable back line, and they are really lacking some confidence and they're lacking in some mental strength to where they are not being able to overcome any kind of a setback. And when you're going into the USL champion season that's halfway over at this point for them, and you're having those kind of issues, there is things that we need to be worried about, right? But I don't want fans to start panicking too much because we're still in the playoffs, right? Lou City is still going to make the playoffs unless,
mm,
they completely collapse,
mm,
which, losing 3 league matches in a row and playing as terrible as they have, it seems possible, right? John, what?
they
Go for it.
the teams below them are in striking distance. Like Detroit has climbed up
Who
recently and
now
stuff
has a
like
game
that.
on them?
Yep, and they're within striking distance. I will say there of you mentioned it. Lou City just does not seem mentally all there.
Yep.
I don't and I think they're too in their heads. They're so worried about trying to dig out that win that they're in their heads. People are trying to play hero ball, that's sort of thing. However, I will say the attack, at least against the Legion, looked better.
It did. It looked a lot better.
The back line now is struggling. So they went from having good goalkeeping and a decent back line with no attack
Yep.
to kind of flipped it, where the attack is doing okay, not great, not the normal Lou City of old, but they found the back of the net. But the defense led into corner kick set piece goals, which I think is also another thing that
Yep.
Lou City fans you need to relax a bit. Both goals the Legion scored were corner kicks. I arguably say that second goal was kind of fluky because
Yeah, it was a
hit
back
off his
heel from a
uh,
center back. Like,
back. That was back calf. If you watch that, that doesn't hit that hits his like upper calf. So it's just like it's just out of nowhere. I think there's a bit of
yeah,
unluckiness, especially with that second goal that they're experiencing right now. Um, it just happens. Like it happens in a league where you're in a closed league
yep,
type of thing. You're gonna either the other teams figure you out, and that's Lou City do have some of the more experienced players in terms of and veteran players on a squad. So I don't know if it's a sense of the other teams are just figuring out Lou City. Danny Cruz hasn't been there
oof.
that long, but it could be they know how Owenby is, they know how Del Piccolo is, they know how McKay is. They have enough film on these guys where they figured you out. And
Which
it's either you need a roster change, or you need tactical change, or your players just need to get over the mental hump.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think this is something where, yeah, if it is Coach Cruz that has been figured out already, either he really needs to change up his tactics, or, which I think is more likely, the players need to have a little bit more realistic approach to this off season, not expecting everybody to get big pay raises and make room for some additional players. Now, I said it half jokingly last week, but someone of the caliber of Rafa Pizarro, who is now in Greece at AEK, Athens, um, getting somebody like that on loan would be fantastic for Lou City. They've got the money from the Josh Winder transfer to Benfica. Why not try and bring in a big name that can come in, that can prove that, Danny Cruz and the rest of the boys are still good to go.
And I don't necessarily mean that like Cruz has been figured out.
But he
In
might be, right? Like
he
it
could be,
certainly looks like it.
but that's the thing though, is I don't. I think Cruz is still a good coach. I truly do. I don't think it was his seasons were based on fluke or people not knowing his tactics. Good coaches, though, the these aren't comparable to the USL Championship. The Fergusons, the
Right.
Guardiolas, the Mourinho, they all have the same systems. It's
Yeah.
finding the players and knowing when to move on from those players
But
sometimes that you
that's the
have to.
most frustrating part then, right? Like we've had the same core for several years and they won championships, multiple, right? We're going to talk about it here in a little bit, but in the Birmingham game, McCabe hit his 200th appearance. Del Piccolo 200 appearances, and there was someone else,
Uh, yeah,
but there was a third player that also hit 200 caps in this match.
Tosh,
Yeah, Toch,
Tosh,
yeah.
Toch.
Um, so you've got a lot of Lou City specific experience, which is great. Like you build that the fan base, the fans get really behind those players and are really attached to it. But at some point, does production fall off enough to where, as an organization, you have to look at cutting ties? John, for people who aren't primarily soccer fans, right? If you're looking at like the Tennessee Titans, for example, they've got a great running back, Derrick Henry, my favorite current player in the NFL. Derrick Henry is beloved by the fans, just as McCabe, just as Del Piccolo, just as Ownby are, just as Musha Galusa is. But Derrick Henry's getting on up there in age. His contract could be, something that they look to settle in this offseason to either, cut the player and save the money, or do they restructure? I think Lou City and fans of Lou City should be prepared for some of those kind of moves. And I'm not saying that we're about to move into a dark time to where Lou City is going to cut all their good players and be barren. No, not saying that at all. But I do think we might want to reposition how we think about this team, especially at the start of next year, unless there are major changes.
Yes, I agree. I don't see Lucy like cutting ties with all three of those guys. I really don't. But I could see some of those guys' roles maybe be diminished. It's not on
Indeed.
them. It's just it might need to happen type
Yeah.
thing. Um, you don't. It's hard. Yes, it's very hard to move on, and I also think there's injury things that plays in the mentality. Cruz has not. I don't think Cruz has had his true starting 11 what he at 100% health in a while, and what you
John,
can
let me
throw on.
interrupt you there
Sorry.
real quickly, just to kind of like jump in and talk about that Detroit game, right? So Lou City 0, Detroit City 2. That was one of the biggest things that I want to talk about out of that match was there. They had 6 lineup changes in that match alone due to injuries. That's a lot of change at once. But I'll let you continue. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a lot of change, and then that's also in training. That say with Owen B played that game, but he was listed as
Mm-hmm.
questionable. How many
He was a
reps
sub,
does
right?
I
Or
don't
did he
recall if he
start?
got sub in. I think he started.
Okay.
I don't know if I know he played. I know he played
Yeah.
also a significant amount of the game. I remember that. But how many being listed as questionable? How many reps does he get with the first 11 type thing? I don't know necessarily exactly how they train in soccer
Yeah.
at that level. Is he getting reps, or is it more they're getting who they want to they're running? Are they having to switch the formation because they're gonna like, well, OMB's not gonna start, so we got to do this formation or this way. You have to play on this side. I think the players just need one. They need this 6 days straight of rest that they're
Yes.
getting until who are they playing?
We'll talk about it on Wednesday because I don't even remember.
Yeah. I can't. It's escaping me. But they need these 6 days of rest. I feel like they need to schedule those international friendlies better next time.
Indy 11, that's who they play
Yeah.
in the Phil the Fam game.
Which apparently they've already sold 11,000 plus tickets, according to their Instagram earlier today.
Which is great, right? Like, as a team that seems to be nosediving downward, to still have the fan base behind you that much and is so invested that they want to keep pushing you and to push the team to be as great as they can be. That's phenomenal.
And this could be exactly what they need. They need a full crowd
Yep.
behind them, and it could just change it. But they need to get healthy. They need, in my opinion, there should be no more questionable guys listed. You're either good to go or you're not.
Yep.
And
Don't
that's just
string us along.
they just need to roll with that. He needs to, if they win. I'm not going to get into my predictions, but if they win on Saturday, keep that 11. Don't, even
Yep.
if OMB's not in that, even if Cruz thinks his best players aren't in that, keep it. Because I feel the inconsistency, and this is a point to Lex too when we move on to them, was killing it. And that
Yep.
consistency, even if I understand mixing it up when you're struggling, but that can kill you, and that can make the struggles harder.
Yeah, and when you're really struggling to get any kind of goals and your offense is really sputtering for the majority of the game, because in this Detroit game, I was pretty hot. It took me a while to be able to calmly write about the team because like that offense didn't show. They were a no show against Detroit. And no offense to Detroit and Detroit haters, come on, bring it on. But you all are not 2 goals better than this version of Lou City. I don't care how old some of the stars may be. Detroit City is not 2 goals better. Not even at home in that interesting stadium, we'll call it.
For now, but Detroit has looked a little better, but we'll see. Everything changes. New City's got 14 games left.
A whole lot of time.
There are teams below them that are within striking distance where they could knock themselves out of the playoffs.
Yep.
I feel they have 5 games. Truly, they have 5 games to turn around. Now that's all dependent on the people below them and how they perform.
Of course.
Detroit has won 2 straight, so you could argue some things. Tulsa is hit or miss, but they have 5 games to turn it around.
That's a great point, John, and I want to really emphasize what you just said there. Their next 5 games: Indy 11 on Saturday, a Friday night game at Tulsa, at home against Charleston Battery.
That's a rough one.
It is. That's probably the hardest one, right?
Mm-hmm.
A home game against Rio Grande Valley, which, my God, I swear if you all lose that one, dear God. And then they get that 5th one is a rematch with Birmingham down in Birmingham. And we'll see what happens in that one. But I absolutely 1,000% agree with you, John. The next 5 games for Lou City are critical.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm looking at it, I'm seeing 2 must-win games in Rio Grande Valley and Tulsa. You've got to win those, and you got to come up with at least 2 draws in the other 3 games.
You need, what is that? You need at least probably 7 to 8 points.
Yeah.
out of that to stay within a sense of not giving the people below you any sort of final stretch hope
Yep.
of knocking you out. But, and I'm also saying that you need that so you're not facing, I don't, facing Pittsburgh. I think
Yeah.
it's top of the table right now. You're not facing Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh to
Right. You're not
start the
playing
playoffs.
Charleston in Charleston. You're not playing Tampa Bay in Tampa. Hell, you're not playing Memphis in Memphis,
Yeah,
which
they
Memphis
need,
at home isn't as great, but
but they would rather take Memphis than Pittsburgh right now.
oh, absolutely.
They need to avoid that because that's who you're going to face if you squeeze into the playoffs and just
Yeah.
make it.
And they're only 1 point back of Memphis for fourth place. So,
Oh yeah,
you know,
they can jump. They very much can
yeah,
jump back into it, but they're also like the East is very congested right now
yeah, 6 points out
together.
of third. Come on. It's doable still.
Mm-hmm.
But, John, wrapping up things here with that Detroit game, one of the things that Coach Danny Cruz talked about was the importance of the upcoming home stretch, which included Saturday night's game against Birmingham. And this was a really bad luck performance by Lou City. I think it's as simple as that. We talked about it a few minutes ago. The off the Achilles, calf, back of the knee, wherever, to lose like that, that's a heartbreaker. Um, but again, the same things were present. There were performance. I'm sorry. Yeah, there were performance issues. We were looking at still having a very exposed back line. You're looking again at little to no attack. So, by doing so, you definitely put yourself in a spot to lose that game and to not have a game over an opponent that for seeding in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's 100%. Their attack did look a little better. They got more, I would say, dangerous shots. They had
They
more
did.
dangerous shots instead of some of that, and especially in this Detroit game. Some of those shots were just they're see,
Over
yeah,
here.
there's taking shots to take shots, and then there's taking the right shots.
Correct. Yeah, and
Even if
you're
a
exactly
goalie is
right.
on his day and saving every shot, but you're making him make saves, you're making them make saves, that's one thing. If you're just shooting and it's going over the crossbar, going wide, left, right, right, that does nothing. That does
Yeah.
honestly nothing for you besides put shots in the stat sheet, which doesn't really show anything. Shots on target are all that matter.
Yep. Because just general shots, whatever. It could be
Yeah.
20 yards over the top. But something else that I noticed from this game, Lou City is starting to get a little bit healthier. There were less name. I think there was Ownby was not listed as even questionable for that match. He was a full participant. So we're starting to see things get a little bit healthier, right?
Mm-hmm. They're getting healthy. They need the 6 days rest. And it's not only is it 6 days rest, it's 6 days rest between home games. So they
Yep.
get to stay home. They don't have to travel.
Why, hello, friend.
Skillet.
But
Skillet.
so let's take it at its worst, right? Let's say over the next 5 games, Lou City continues to struggle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still think there is a pathway. I don't know if Lou City is a 6, 7 seed. I don't know if how far they're going to go. I don't think they're a championship level team at that point. But if you're telling me that Pittsburgh, Charleston, and Tampa Bay want to play Lou City in a playoff game in the first round, get out of here. They don't want to
Oh,
see
I
that.
don't think no, but this team still has the chance to be deadly and be upsetters. The
Right.
issue depends on when you face them. I don't see
Yep.
them truly they would have to truly crumble from this point forward to not make the playoffs.
Indeed.
It's the question of what is their form going to be, where they sit in the playoffs and where they go in the playoffs.
Yep.
Because I think location matters as well.
Location, location, location. The important things about real estate are going to be important for this Lou City team as we head into those next 5 games because a lot of those are at home. And when we get into the playoffs, who, when, and where will also play a big factor in how far Lou City will go.
Mm-hmm.
But
100%.
John, let's move over to Lexington now. And Lexington Sporting Club had a great weekend. Literally one of the best performances I've seen from them this entire season. Union Omaha is not this bad of a club, but Lexington Sporting Club picked up the 3-0 win. And John, one of the things that I noticed from your article was you talked about this tactical change. I want to give you a lot of room to talk about that.
Okay, and I'm apologizing to those who read it because I mentioned the formation change, but I didn't mention what they changed into. So, traditionally, and this is in general for most soccer, Stockley ran a 4-4-2, which is the most traditional formation
Yep.
you can.
It's the base formation on FIFA.
It's the base formation for everything. If you're learning soccer, playing soccer, the first time you probably have formation teaching where your coach is actually like, let's play in this shape and keep this style is probably a 4-4-2 because it is the easiest to understand. It's the one that translates across all things. It's
Yep.
the most straightforward type thing. It's one every team should be able to pull off. It's also one that every team knows how to beat.
Yep. And that was, I think, some of their problems. Like after reading like what you had wrote, I was like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah. Now they've moved to it. What me and Tyler Crane of Crane Kicks Lex, Footmob hasn't put out the lineup chart, so we're not exactly sure if this is the exact lineup, but we're nearly positive it's a 3-5-2 that turns into a
Wow.
5. Yeah, so 3-5-2 that turns into a 5-3-2 when they're on defense.
Crazy.
It's hard to explain, but this one
No, you're doing great.
Yeah, it moves up. We're essentially playing with 3 center backs that kind of rotate. If the ball is in our midfield, they kind of move where the ball is.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're playing on our back heels, what they had specifically, I don't necessarily agree with taking out Owen Green, but for the system, it worked because they had Tate, Robinson, and Tariq Muhammad, who are much more attacking wings and better at ball distribution than Owen Green. Owen Green is a great right back. Offensively, he's not that sound. He's good, but he's not. Tariq and Tate are much better when it comes to crossing type thing. Anyways, they can track back to create a 5-man line in a sense, or they can track forward. And also, they pulled Nico off the wing. I think a part of it was I like our other striker options besides Diouf, but I love Balogun as a super sub. I don't like him as a starter, particularly because he doesn't necessarily have the footwork. He's a big body. He uses his big body well, but he doesn't have that maneuverability with the ball like Nico and Diouf have to move with the ball and take guys on.
He's very similar to Martin for Lou City. How he's kind of come into the team of recent and is a big body, but he can't really do much.
And Balogun can do a lot, but
he can do more.
He's a
He can do
finisher.
more than
He's a
Martin.
strong finisher. He's the kind that you can give him the ball and he can finish. The kind if you give him the ball 40 yards out and say go, and like one-on-one, that's where I get a little uneasy with him. He's more of that target for crosses, target for corner kicks, all that type of stuff. Nico and Diouf are much better with their feet, but they're prolific goal scorers when they have the ball at their feet. That's much more how they score. And also, they solidified the midfield by using what I believe is our best midfield trio of Machel, Smart, and Delamini. And you can swap in Mane later because Delamini doesn't seem to have the full 90 juice.
Yeah,
he's got it, but he doesn't seem like he can't keep it up for a full 90.
So what is up with that? Is it a fitness thing? Is an
I don't
injury that he's
necessarily.
picked up, or
I think for Delamine, I don't. He might have played a full 90. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's just the way he plays. He is very fast, and he's also very much in terms of a tracker. He's the
Hmm.
midfielder that's tracking both the attack and the defense.
Absolutely.
Mitchell and Smart kind of trade off. They'll swap each other. Where Delamini is very much moving back and forth. He's a box to box type midfielder. Where Smart and Mitchell more kind of trade off, and they kind of move where the ball moves. Where Delamini's in that middle where he has to go back and forth. And I think that's a fitness thing. Box to box midfielders have to be the most fit people on the team because they are
Yep.
moving truly from you could it's box to box, but it's touchline to touchline is truly what it is. It's how they're moving. And it's hard. It's hard to do it. Where Mitchell maybe can back off if the ball's going down the left side, or Smart can back off a little bit if the ball's going down the right.
Well, and another part of the tactics that I kind of noticed was the defensive presence, right? Obviously, Emil Knight, really good performance as usual. Now, did he get an injury late, or was that just kind of
He
just taking it precautiously?
I think he was taken precautiously.
Okay.
I think he dealt when we saw that like 5 game stretch where he didn't play and Kazi was in goal. I
Hmm.
think he got an ankle injury and they didn't disclose it.
Ah,
But in the sense, it wasn't like you're out type of ankle injury. It's just keepers, especially shoulders and legs. That is not something you play injured with. Absolutely
no,
not.
you're
Not
diving and
even
moving at awkward angles, and
not not even if it's like, well, I'm 90%. That
yep,
90% is 2 inches.
yeah,
And that 2 inches
that's the
is either a
difference.
save or a goal. Goalkeeper is one of those ones where, and listen to this, kids, don't be tough because that toughness can cost you and will
Absolutely.
cost you eventually. It could be if it's your shoulders, you're diving to the ground and you
If
may
it's a
not be
head
up.
injury, especially,
Yeah. You might
oof.
not get up as quick. There's just so much stuff. Coaches in general do not like when their keepers get hurt. He shouldn't, but he stayed in and he played good.
Yeah, he
I
had a great performance. I mean, Omaha was coming in on a pretty good tear of scoring in multiple matches in a row here, and he shut him down.
mhm. And our defense as a general, so that we're seeing more of Chea Gonzalez, who played amazingly.
He's sneaky good.
Well, him and Frankie Martinez are really good.
Yeah.
I don't know necessarily. Now Frankie Martinez was seen in a sling on the sideline,
Mm.
so I think I'm not sure if Chea maybe is the number 3 center back in that sense. I think you could toss it up to both.
I
I
mean,
would
if
want to
he's
see.
number three, that's a pretty good three.
I want to see Kimball Jackson some because
Mm-hmm.
in this system because he actually played really well against Lou City. He's played the full
He did.
90 in that game. We haven't seen much of him as of late, but I definitely feel with Murillo and Fox that third can be moved in. And as a whole, I'm very curious how this goes. I think Omaha kind of was gassed
Yeah.
a bit in terms of they were just riding high so long. The dramatics they had Tuesday night against Knoxville, I think they were playing a little passive too, just a wee bit because of their coach's comments. I was very interested in how the game was refed. Lexington did pick up 5 yellow cards. It was kind of interesting.
Yep. That was
Um,
going to be the next thing I was going to bring up.
yeah. So, but they only had this system for 2 or 3 days, according to Stockley in training. So I'm curious how this is going to look against the kickers, who have been stumbling as of late. They're they're not. Granted, they played NoCo last game, and
Right.
everyone NoCo has 1 loss through 16
Yeah.
games. They have 10 wins, 5 draws, and 1 loss. They made a joke. Now people were making jokes about Lex having more kits than wins, which we're tied now. I'll admit it's funny, but we are now through 18 games. We are 9-9. We have 9 losses and 9 games where we've gotten points. So we have 4 wins, 5 draws.
I
That for a
did see
first year
that
club
chatter
is pretty
online.
good. That I will say for a first year club that's
Yeah.
playing very young, and that I will say this: if you listen to Tyler Crane's been making the rounds as of late. He was on Vamos Morados. He was on a bunch of other podcasts as of late. He knows way more than me in terms of insider stuff. Stockley's full thing is building for a future. He'd rather we finish 10th for say this year and then win the league 4 straight years than go all in this year and
Right.
then
For 1 year.
struggle, yeah, and then the mid table the rest of the thing. And we're seeing what another expansion side, Knoxville, went all in on their starting 11 in terms of money, and they're kind of dropping. They're struggling now. There could
Well,
be a
they've had some
chance
health issues too.
they could, and they've cut. They just parted ways with a fan favorite. So I don't know necessarily what's going on, but that's digress.
Is he an
We're
attacking player?
I think so.
Because I
Knoxville is
know a
interesting.
team in purple that could use an additional attacking player.
He's interesting. He was kept on from their USL 2 side when they came up. Sebastian something, I can't forget. I don't remember his
Oh
last name.
yeah, I remember him. He seemed pretty decent.
Yeah. So we'll see how this new formation, if they keep it, I don't see why they wouldn't. How it goes on Saturday. Then they have a tough matchup after that because I believe it's NoCo.
Yep.
After that,
It's at home on Saturday for Richmond, then back to back road games
back-to-back
at
roads.
Omaha and then at Northern Colorado. So
Okay.
I'm assuming the boys are just gonna, go to Omaha on probably Tuesday, play the Wednesday game, and then head out to Colorado afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not fully sure how that is, but that's what they should do.
Yeah.
But then they got
That's what Omaha did. They went to Knoxville and then just stayed in the area.
yeah. So we'll see what happens. I do feel in terms of Saturday, it's a very much winnable game for them.
I agreed.
But we'll see. We'll see what they do. They'll have more experience with this new formation if they keep it. They looked very good, and they just did like a mid-season. The league did with a bunch of Twitter. They surveyed a bunch of Twitter personalities, and a bold prediction in that was Lexington sneaks into the playoffs. They are still in it.
Ooh.
They are still in that playoff hunt. They have I think 14 games to go as well. We can see. We'll see what happens. They have
John,
essentially 2 months left.
imagine the panic in Louisville if Lou City falls out of the playoffs and Lexington makes it to the playoffs. Ooh wee. Twitter will be a
That'll be
feast for the eyes.
that'll be very interesting. I'm also by the Open Cup stuff. That'd be very interesting because
It
Lex
would
will
be.
host, and they only beat us by 1.
They did.
That was
But
a
that was
that was in the
that was the
rain.
start of all of this, right? That was the
We'll
start
see.
of this loose city. They ain't got no attack.
Yeah, and in full honesty, with that Open Cup, I was expecting like a 4-0 beat down. Cause I was like,
Ooh, I didn't expect it to be that bad.
well, in my head, Lou City is this attacking
They
dominant
used to be.
team, and that was like third game or something like that. So I was like, oh, I don't know. We're going up against a very experienced side that likes to score. So I was like, I don't know what's could happen, but
Right. And the
we'll see.
whole nature of the rivalry there, yeah, it would be interesting to flip the script next season if that happens again. But who knows? Maybe somebody like a BGFC makes it to the Open Cup at that point, or a Tennessee Tempo and they go play Louisville or Lexington, as opposed to them getting to play each other. I think we've talked about it before, and it seems pretty standard that that's going to be the matchup almost every year. But hey, who knows if somebody else sneaks in and takes one of those spots?
Yeah, we'll see.
But John, the most important question coming out of this Lexington matchup for me is what color kits are they going to wear against Richmond? Because there seems to be some magic in these black kits, my friend.
I want them to keep the black kits. I don't necessarily know if they will or not. I have not heard if they will or not. We'll see. Um, but I think they should keep it. I honestly, I think we should only play in our. We should just kind of sneak away from the white kits for this year because we haven't
Oh, those
played.
are my favorite.
I like them, but we haven't played well in them. So I'm thinking we like we've gotten 1 point in them, and we've gotten 1 point in our spark kits on the road. So I'm thinking we need to wear our spark kits or like that type of stuff. Now we've
And that
lost
was
on
the
the
light greener color.
the spark kits, and now that is the reason we have 4 kits because the spark kit is the youth kit. They wanted to launch that. The
Ah,
youth, the academies will be wearing that next year, so I don't think they'll be having 4 kits next year. It was kind of well, they want they're big on academy. That's very much a thing. They they don't want their whole thing. Well, yes, the youth sides have a different sponsor. It's Wild Health. He sponsors basically everything in
yeah.
Lexington. Um, they did want the thing of you could like imagine yourself playing for the senior side type stuff in those kits.
Indeed. And John, let's keep talking about winners here, and let's transition back to Louisville and talk about Racing Louisville. John, they had a 2-0 win in their Challenge Cup group stage match over Chicago Red Stars. That was the fourth of 6 group stage matches for the Lavender Ladies, or Ladies in Lavender. And the first thing that I want to talk about with racing is, why are they playing during the Women's World Cup? So I did a little bit of digging, and here's kind of some notes that I found. So it was the NWSL's option and their choice to keep playing during the break, but they did want to lighten the load on their players and allow for more time for the Challenge Cup during this space. Now, the teams were off from July 10th through July 20th, and they will also be off August 7th through the 17th. And the only matches that are happening right now are Challenge Cup games or any makeup games that they had to make up because of weather or other reasons from earlier in the season. So while this window isn't ideal for what we think the NWSL should be doing, we do think that the league should be shut down and support the Women's World Cup. They are still playing, but it is at a reduced rate.
Yes, there's not. So racing at least is not going to be playing any NWSL matches in the sense of ones that matter for playoffs. They
Yep,
don't. I don't think they have one again until the 19th, which I believe the World
correct.
Cup final is the 20th.
Yeah,
So it's the day before, which I'm okay with that type of thing.
yeah. You
My
gotta.
my specific thing is there shouldn't be games played during especially during the group stage. I could see you could make an argument around quarterfinal, semifinal time, because that's kind of where you get to the last few, and it's really only a few games. But the factor is we're having 3-4 games a day right now. You shouldn't be playing. Yes, they're playing
Nope.
at absurd hours, and yes, you could have
Welcome to New Zealand to play at 3 a.m.
like racing did, where they played a game and then they instantly showed the World Cup, which according
Which
to
brilliant by Jeff and the rest of the Racing Louisville communications and marketing staff to do that. That was brilliant,
and
and
apparently
I'm
it was
really glad they
instant.
did that.
Apparently it was
Oh yeah.
instant. There's a member of the Railbirds who's also a season ticket holder of racing. He went
Hmm.
to the game. He works for some company that's based office is in Louisville, so anytime he like has to work during the day, he'll just go to there so he can like leave straight to the games.
Nice.
Um, they said like second the final whistle blew, they switched it. They didn't even care about highlights or whatever. It was like instant switch. So they were prepared for that. And I will props. That's very smart. It's a good thing. It kept vendors open later for that and all that type of
Yeah, the
sense.
bars were open. The little restaurant that's in the stadium was still open.
Yeah. So Now that I've learned that it's just Challenge Cup essentially with some of the makeups, I'm a little more okay with that. In the sense though, I want to see out of the end of it, I want to see more young youth being played. You have
Yeah.
these national team replacement contracts. I want to see those people be played. I don't. I didn't look too in depth. I watched the highlights of this game. I didn't look too in depth to see if they went in. I do know that one of the three players that Racing signed to national team replacement contracts was on not like on the roster, and the other two were coming off the bench.
Yeah.
I don't know if they got in or not, but I want to see more of those. Bring in the academy players for these games, especially when you have such a big cushion. I don't think they're
Yes.
out of not making it out of this. You have a cushion. Let's see it. Let's see some academy, play them, give them some experience in this sort of thing where you have the cushion where you can drop one game. You have two more games. They're very much clear of the table. Play some youth.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I believe I remember hearing one of the commentators talked about that third player that they signed was just not there yet. Like they were still in process with getting them to Louisville, so that was the reason they weren't on the bench yet. But I agree with you. I think when you have such a strong academy, right? Like that USLW squad lost one game and had one draw against the national champion, Indy
Yeah.
11.
For those who don't saw, Indy 11 won the USLW series. So it looks that sucks for us as Kentucky fans, but it also looks better for both Lexington and Louisville's thing. It sucks. I will admit, watching your rival win sucks, but at the same time, it looks better for that division as a whole. Saying, "Oh, we lost to the champions," or the champion came out of our division, and if you played close games, the W side did beat Indy 11 for one game, didn't they? Did it? You can.
No,
Oh
they
no,
had
they
to they
lost
won
to
twice.
St.
They had
Charles.
to, yeah,
St.
which
Charles, who's
is
arguably the
weird.
worst team. Well,
Yeah,
that's what's weird about it. St. Charles played Indy 11, was beat Indy 11, and then played them in another game with 9 players. They showed up with 9 players. I heard the
yeah,
16-0 thing. I heard they got 9 players. I thought they just 2 players committed fouls. I thought they were genuinely down by red
no,
cards, and no, they only traveled with 9 players.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, but it looks better as a whole if you can say we played at least the national champion or a finalist, semifinalist in general, than like, oh, the person who came out of division got bounced in the first round.
I hear what you're saying and I appreciate it, and I also massively disagree. Like I firmly think that a team that goes 8-1-1 in that league deserved a wild card or some kind of a playoff spot. So to
Indy
the
11
USL,
winning might give this division a wild
well,
card
okay,
spot. I don't know
okay,
necessarily how that works because I
yeah,
looked at it and some of the ones that had wild card spots had the same amount of teams as our division. So I was like, okay, maybe it's by team count.
yeah,
Like
maybe,
if it's the bigger no, some ones have 5 and they just had a wild card. So I was like either they paid off the W League to be like this thing, or it might have been done how the playoffs were done last year and they went how high a certain league finished or a division finished, maybe got an extra wild card. So maybe now that we have the champion, Racing or Lex could sneak in or both and they send Indy home.
get out of here,
That's
Indy.
what we'll
Nobody
hope.
likes you.
Both will do it. And speaking of Lex's W side, this happened just today. Sarah Gorham signed with a
Yeah,
Spanish, I want to say it's a second division side,
it was.
a Spanish second division side. I'm not going to try to pronounce her name. I saw
No.
their own announcement a few months ago, like a few weeks ago. I'm not going to pronounce that name. That's one of the weird Spanish names. But Lex just produced after one season a pro player.
Yeah.
She's not playing pro in arguably, you could say, the second or third best country for women's soccer.
Yeah, you kind of get in that argument of, Spain, France, Portugal, maybe even Germany, but
Oh,
Like
I'm
they're all
talking.
kind of clustered together, right?
I was talking domestic leagues.
Oh,
Uh,
LOL.
it's either La Liga or La Liga Femenal. I think is the proper term. The Super League in England or the NWSL. Like Barcelona, I believe, is the champions of Europe, and they have been for a while. So they're playing. She's going to a country that cares about women's soccer because 92,000 came out for the Barcelona women's before.
Wow,
So she's going to a country that at least cares about women's soccer. So this could be good for Sarah Grom. Grom.
absolutely.
I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
So congratulations to Sarah. We really wish her the best in everything she does over in Spain. We'll keep watching. But John, back to racing and kind of just diving in a little bit to what happened in the action. Jordan Badgett, Paige Monahan, absolute standout performances. Both of them scored in the first half to really propel racing to the victory.
It could have been
Um,
way more lopsided. Red
it
Star
could have
Red Star's
because
goalie played very good.
she did because the shot chart was 25 for Racing Louisville to 8 for Chicago Red Stars, and there's Sarah
Yeah.
who went overseas.
Seco I can't even. Seco
Yeah,
Esportiva AEM.
bless you. You're so much more willing to do that than I am. Um, but when you looked at that combination of Badgett and Monahan, they really had something going the other night. One of the things that Coach Kim talked about was their stellar performances and really emphasizing that the team has the goal of reaching the semifinals and the finals in this tournament. And I think they're right where they need to be. They're 12 out of 12 points. And I think Racing Louisville is probably the co-favorite heading into the last group stage match and into the knockout phase, only behind the OL Rhine, which John has Rose Lavelle, Megan Rapinoe. Like they've got the superstar. So for Racing Louisville to come in second favorite, I think that's pretty impressive.
We want them to go far. We want them to be top dogs because it sucks now. But with this being Rapinoe's last year,
Yep,
I personally would rather that the only challenge playoffs. So we want both ways, and we want a way where we could host. I'm sorry, I want to see Rapinoe in person. I haven't gotten to. When I saw she was retiring, I was like, oh, let's see if they played Louisville yet, and they already had. So I was like,
they
this
did,
sucks. So
and
they
I missed
either
it too.
Louisville either needs to make the playoffs or they need to somehow face in the Challenge Cup to where we host the OL Reign, because
Yep.
that could also be a way to fill the stadium.
Oh yeah, absolutely. John, speaking of Racing Louisville, Women's World Cup, etc., give us some updates on how our Racing Louisville players who don't play for Team USA are doing in the World Cup.
So those we put out an article earlier today where I gave kind of a brief breakdown of this.
A brief breakdown. You did a really good job. Hold on now. Don't sell yourself short.
I gave a paragraph ish where I did some stats of each player type thing. Don't I will say this: one, football is very aggressive with their rating system. Compared to FootMob, and those are the two apps where I found consistently rate players over games. Goal.com doesn't do it, and FIFA is a little, yeah, it's on the screen now. Starting with in order, Alexandria Chidiac for Australia did not play. She rode the bench. Then I believe it was DeMello. No, it was not DeMello. It was Kanu. She came on late in the 73rd minute. She helped keep that game 0-0. She played decently, pretty okay. Not insanely good, but she only had 17 minutes. That game was already a fest. You already had that what is currently the save of the tournament with the penalty
Man, was
save
it
on
something.
St. Clair. One, you some people don't realize how hard it is to stop a penalty. If you watch the side save, you see the keeper's arm move back
Yep.
because of
And that
how
ball just stopped.
it's hard to make penalty saves because those players are sending it in regardless of what level they are. She played Kanu played pretty good as much as you can coming in the latter half. I feel like coming in the last 15 or so was really hard to make an impact unless it's like a goal or it's like a game game saving clearance type thing. Outside of that, it's kind of hard to truly make an impact with like 20 minutes. Then it was Wang, Xuan Wang. She started the second half for China. She looked okay offensively, wasn't amazing. Played decently on defense, but coming in the second half, I feel kind of changed the mojo on that. That was a game I kind of watched. I fell asleep watching it because it kicked off at like 1 a.m. Um, so I didn't see the goal, but that was very much a game they were both in. Uh, then it is Stembi Galata. She played well. The rating system is bad. She, in my opinion, technically got an assist because her shot bounced off the keeper and her teammate got it on the rebound. I fully believe in the hockey assist. Um,
Hey.
in the sense, if it comes off the keeper and your teammate gets it in without touching anyone else, should be a hockey assist. The opening rounds of matches, a hat trick and an assist in 70 minutes. Um, Almost a three-header hat trick. Her second goal came and she hit it with her head. It bounced. Um, Style of play is a cultural thing. It's not
Yep.
like a gender thing. Whereas in terms of the Americans, men and women, which by the way, we need to come up with better nicknames than USMNT and USWNT. You have teams like the Matildas which is Australia, the Super Falcons, um, the Steel Roses is what China's women's team is
Ooh.
called, and we're just like, yeah, United States women's national team, United States men's national team. Like you can't even call like I think technically you could call the women the Stars, and then you could call the men the Stripes right now, just because one
Mm. That
the
has a lot of great meaning behind it in so many different facets other than soccer.
the men just called the Stripes because of the Waldo kits.
Those
And
kids were awful.
I didn't mind them.
Oh Lord.
There's been some worse ones, and then the women are the ones who like actually have stars on their crest, which
Oh, shots fired.
I saw a dumb TikTok where it's like someone doesn't understand it because there's a Pulisic kit out there that says Pulisic on the back but has the stars on the front.
Hmm.
I think
That's the
someone just
wrong
I think someone
national team
found a
logo.
women's kit like custom and were like, "Oh, I like this look. Put Pulisic on the back." We're like, that's not how that works.
But yeah,
Um,
Ari Burgess, phenomenal performance. Really, really impressive on all three of those goals.
and look at
To
this.
chime in
My
and
man,
emphasize that.
her assist was the best part.
Yeah,
Breaks down the defender, and then she just nonchalantly back heel pass to her teammate,
yeah.
and then she gets
Oh,
subbed off for Brazilian legend Marta. So,
yep.
and
Which,
they
hey, we told you all in our breakdown of the Women's World Cup. Watch out for Brazil. They're a problem.
they
I hope you believe us now.
in terms of the dominant performances, and we can move this into the USA Vietnam with this talk. Brazil's was truly dominant, in my
Hmm.
opinion. Germany versus Morocco. I don't think Morocco honestly expected to make it this far. They went in their goal, like I was listening to some people, was like their goal was to qualify for AFCON
Mm.
Cup of Nations, and then they qualified third, which made them automatic qualifiers for the World Cup. So I don't think they expected to make it this far. Kind of a fish out of water type sense. Uh, Japan cruised past Zimbabwe. What was some of the others? I think that's it.
Haiti
People,
won.
no,
No, they didn't. I thought they won. Did I
no,
see that
they
wrong?
beat England. England got lucky that Haiti defender had a brain fart and jumped like
Oh
this,
yeah, that's right. I
jumped
did
like
see that.
this at a ball, straight
Yeah,
like hands in the air. If
that's
that
right.
didn't happen, that game ends 0-0, and England could be burning right now. Um, but
That's right. Yeah, I did
I've
see that.
seen a lot of people being very concerned over the USA only beating Vietnam 3-0. And I
Yeah.
want to say I have some points to that, but you can go first if you would like.
No, 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 like all I wanted to say is specifically about Team USA. We got the job done, right? Was it flashy? No. Was it super effective? Yes, it was. It worked 3-0 to a team where their goalkeeper, the Vietnamese goalkeeper, was phenomenal. She was only five, or she is only 5'5", and she's out there diving around, making saves all over the place. Like she's like 6'5". Like she was really, really impressive. Tran Chin Kin, wow, I'm terrible at this game. Um, Played a really big role, especially in denying the penalty from Alex Morgan. Like that was really impressive to me. Like way more than what any of the USA players did. I was really impressed with her as a keeper.
Oh, she played great, but I'm going to say this: Vietnam played a game that every um, way out of its side should play. They did
Yes.
not give the U.S. any space. They were collapsing on them all the time. If you've watched other teams, specifically at high level things, this is something you notice. High level teams aren't always challenging other high level teams. They aren't always in your face defending, and Vietnam was doing that.
Right. Very face to face.
That
Very
is hard to get anything going from. And when they did, that's when Sophia Smith went off. That's when
yep.
Horan got her goal. Vietnam, if you notice, Vietnam did not want the U.S. to get anything in space. They were
Nope.
getting dusted, and they played well. Vietnam also had the thing where they had everything to prepare for this game. I think we beat Vietnam more handily, or as how some people wanted to, if we were playing them third or
Agreed.
second, in the sense where they had everything to prepare for this game. They are
Yep.
like, oh, we get the two-time defending champions. We are a side that is completely besides one player, domestic players. They all play in Vietnam besides one who has played in the NWSL or I think maybe Europe. Only one player, which I was actually kind of shocked by, especially when I heard the Philippines have 14 American-born players.
Yeah.
I was like, you
They've
couldn't
got some
find.
high schoolers.
Yeah, Jamaica has a high schooler from
Yeah.
Georgia who's 17. And I was like, but with Vietnam and some of the stuff, when I heard that compared to the Philippines, I'm like, you couldn't find one USA dual national type
Well,
thing.
but
Like,
that works both ways, right? Like you've got to be interested as the American Vietnamese, and you also have to be then noticed by the federation, right?
true. I was honestly shocked. Like, I understand there's probably many dual national American women out there who aren't going to crack the team just because it's so hard to be in that top 30. Let's say it top 30 squad. But I was surprised just how many were on Philippines. That's 14
Yeah,
players. It's a 23-man roster. That means 9 are like truly from the Philippines. That's just
yeah,
shocking to me overall. I'm not saying it's bad. It's good. The U.S. men are built off of dual national
yeah.
players. Half our starting lineup was not born in America.
Or they've got at least got that dual status. Specifically about Team USA though, Sophia Smith, what a performance!
Oh, yeah, she was insane. Then that's another thing with our attack in a sense. Sophia Smith now has to do it essentially on her own. We are
Yep.
missing Soren, who is our leading scorer, who is our best scorer. So you have Sophia Smith having to do it on her own. DeMillo, for her second ever game,
Yeah.
played insane. And this is why I said with the Ari thing. DeMillo would have been the best out of the racing bunch in their first
Mm-hmm.
games. if Ari didn't decide to become the first ever Brazilian to score a hat trick in their first World Cup game. Men or women. Like Pele didn't
Yeah.
even do that when he
Yeah.
first debuted in the World Cup for Brazil. So it happens. I'm very curious to see if DeMello starts against the Netherlands.
I would be surprised if she didn't. She
I
played that good.
She earned it. She earned it. Like
Absolutely.
Roosevelt, yes, Roosevelt has the experience. Roosevelt
Yep.
is a world class player, but DeMello has been playing this entire year as a world class midfielder, arguably the best in the NWSL, and she was arguably the best player on that field. I I don't fully agree with goal bias. Like people are like, "Oh, you score a goal, even if you score two, like Sophia Smith did."
Yeah.
And Sophia Smith did play great, and Sophia Smith, in my opinion, was the best. But I think there's some points where the best player, just because they're not scoring goals, doesn't mean the players who scored goals are better than them. Because
Yeah.
there's tap ins, there's that type
Yep.
of thing.
Sometimes you take it off the back of the knee and put it in, huh, Louisville?
But DeMello earned it, and she should
Yeah.
definitely start against the Netherlands. We'll see what happens against the Netherlands. I still think the U.S. are going to pull it out of here. It's not time to panic just because we didn't beat them
No. Dear
13-0
God.
like Thailand. It has to be remembered the rest of the world has caught up.
Yes.
Maybe not caught up, but they're
They're
catching up.
catching. Yes.
We're no longer outside of it. And Vietnam, this is their first. I don't think the men have ever qualified for a World Cup. So
I would be so surprised if they did.
yeah, you gotta understand from those players, this is their first World Cup for that country. They're not
Yeah.
just gonna take a beating. They're not
No, no
gonna sit
way.
over and tie. That's the thing with anything in this stuff. No country is just gonna go over there and be like, "Oh, we're at the World Cup. It's fun to be here. Let's just kind of enjoy it." They're gonna try to win. And it looks shaky, I'll admit that. The Rodman thing had me believing this team is cursed, but
Oh, not
she's
she
okay.
played better than just that one opportunity though, right?
Well, no, I'm talking about her falling on her back within a minute
Oh, yeah.
and nearly being, like, stretchered off. Like, I saw the stretcher come on, I was like, "You're kidding me. This team is cursed. This team is genuinely cursed. If we don't make the semis or the finals, it's because, like, we're gonna be having our third choice keeper in net for some reason. It's gonna be like we're gonna be playing with 9 men because we don't have anyone. We're just gutted by injury."
Yeah. Well, last thing that I did want to touch upon, Megan Rapinoe did hit a milestone in the game by being a second half sub, if I'm not mistaken. She did get her 200th cap for the national team, which is insanely remarkable that she has played in 200 international matches.
Honestly seems
Um,
low.
it does
Well,
kind of like she's been around
the
since forever,
women
right?
play so much more because they have, like, the
Yeah.
She Believes Cup, they have much more
Mhm.
friendlies, I feel. Like, Ronaldo is the leader in the men's side, I think, with, like, 190. He could be at, like, 200-ish. But it's a sense that the women, I feel, play more national games. So the fact that Rapinoe, who has been on the team for a while to get 200 caps, that just seemed low to me, but that's
Yeah.
probably
But
more just accurate.
still, congratulations to Megan and to Savannah and to the whole team. It's now time to lock in. This next match is their most important one against the Netherlands, Wednesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. We will most likely be on when that game kicks off. So we'll keep you up to date on that match as we get into it. But John, the last thing I want to talk about in the bottom line for this week, just want to give a shout out to the season that previous interview guest Gif Nadam and his Tennessee Tempo team had. They unfortunately ran into AS Frenzy in the UPSL quarterfinals. Down the game was played down in Georgia. AS Frenzy is from Lake Mary, Florida, which is like northern Orlando area, right? Tempo ran into that game. They didn't have Quadre Poku, Not for sure what happened on that as far as why he didn't play or what, but final score was 7-1. And you don't want to see any of our UPSL teams getting beat that badly. But especially for a team that is well respected in this state, like Tempo is, um, not what we wanted to see happen to them in the quarterfinals.
I will say the very little stuff I could find on either team, because I'm
You
not a
found stuff
UPS.
on those teams.
From what I found on UPSL's website, AS Frenza has like 3 guys who have scored 10 goals, and they're like an
Yeah.
absurd goal scoring team. That's as much as I could find. I could find nothing on the Tennessee Tempo themselves. All 3 of their pages that were listed on UPSL were literally just blank. So
Yeah. Well,
they played what looks like a buzzsaw from the very little
yeah.
information I could find.
I had been given a tip 2 weeks ago that this AS Frenzy was really good. And the person that gave me the information, they're from Florida, and they said they'd watched some of their games, and they said they're one of the best, if not the best, in the country this year. So, I heard that and I kind of let it go one in ear out the other, but then I see the final score and I'm like, ooh, maybe they were right. So best of luck to AS Frenzy and the rest of the UPSL teams as they head up to Loudon for the national semifinals and the national final. Best of luck, my friends. But John, before we jump to off the top, I do want to say if you enjoy this content and you like what we talk about and you like to support us, make sure you either scan that QR code, which is above my, what is this, left arm right now, or scan it right there on the screen there for Buy Me Coffee. We have a Buy Me Coffee link. You can donate as much as you would like. We would really appreciate the support. We are doing everything that we can to provide high quality content and coverage of all things Kentucky based soccer. So any support is very, very much appreciated. Um, and we
And,
will continue to kind of keep that on. John, what were you going to say?
and if it helps, I do not buy coffee from Starbucks. I buy it from a very local place here in town. So you would
In
be. I'm
Lexington?
not. No,
Okay.
I live in
That's right.
Mount Vernon. This
Oh,
place
that's
called
right.
Twisted Stash that has. It's very good. I'm not a big
Hmm.
coffee drinker. I actually like their coffee. So
Well, with the Buy Me Coffee link, you can even specify that you want us to buy a tea or something for John. So, but now, John, let's go off the top. And John, we've kind of hit on some of these stories, so I don't want to spend too much time on them tonight. But the first story that I want to talk about was Racing Louisville signing of um, Almeyer and Schamberger to national team replacement contracts. And briefly, kind of what I want to mention if you're not familiar with those contract systems, basically because Savannah DeMillo and so many other Racing Louisville players are off at the World Cup, the NWSL allows Racing Louisville to sign a couple of other players, as well as bringing some younger players up from the youth academy to kind of fill in those slots. So Ella Schamberg was the 38th overall pick in the 2023 NWSL draft from Vanderbilt, where she played 97 games in 5 years and was an all SEC second team selection. Um, Taylor Almeyer joining Racing Louisville after a stint with a Finnish club. Um, and she also Taylor also had some time with the New Jersey, New York, Gotham's. So both players, glad to have them with some experience on the roster. We'll see. They were both on the bench, but they did
and
not get in. Right.
and then they joined Maddie Pocorini. Pocconi. I don't know how to say that name. She's also a national team replacement player contract, and I believe these contracts are still good
Yep.
even when players return from the World Cup. So they're on. From what I understand, these contracts are good through the end of the World Cup, regardless if say all 6 of the racing teams get knocked out and they just return. I think they're still good. to
Yes,
the end of the World Cup. So it's not like this would never happen, but it's not like U.S. just doesn't make out of the group stage in the middle of returns and they had to like get rid of Almer or Schamberger. They're good through the World Cup, I believe.
absolutely. So glad they got those opportunities, and hope that they can continue to add in this Challenge Cup run for Racing Louisville. John, jumping back to Lou City, we mentioned it earlier. Niall McCabe joining Del Piccolo and Toch as the only players with 200 USL Championship appearances. John, I know we kind of talked about that earlier. Anything else you wanted to add on that one?
I'm curious. It's probably true, but I tried to find if that's like the entire league or just as in when Lou City's been in the USL Championship. I couldn't really find much because it's with stats still in the USL. It kind of sucks. Stats are still kind of weird
Yeah,
in general. Some teams keep it like this is a shout out to Lexington. Lexington has on their website stats
they
where
do.
other, at least USL League One sides, don't even list their roster on their thing. Like I was trying to research you in Omaha last week, and they don't have a roster limit listed on their own website. So you don't even know their official roster. But I was just curious if that's just in terms of Lou City in the USL Championship or all the USL Championship. But it's big honors. Those are big things. Those are big accomplishments. People, legends of other clubs, even big clubs, don't even reach 200 appearances. So
Indeed.
this is a big deal.
John, we'll jump over to Lexington. I don't know if I dreamed this or if I actually saw it. So I debated not just completely skipping over it. Did I see that Smart got his 100th USL League One cap, or did I completely
Yes,
make that up? Okay,
Don
I couldn't
Smart.
find the article. I was desperately
They
looking today
didn't.
to find it.
Okay, they didn't post an article from what I saw. They posted a Twitter. They made
Okay,
posts on like Twitter and they did a story.
I thought
But
I was going crazy.
yeah, Don Smart is like a League One staple. He
Yep,
has a bunch. He's in a bunch of top records. Remind you, this league has existed for 3.5 years prior to this. So it started in 2019. He had spent about I want to say 2 years each with the Triumph Greenville. He came to us after his spell with the Triumph, and he was with Forward Madison before that. So he's been in the league forever. And I believe he is our only player over the age of 30 on Lexington's team. He's 35, so this guy's experience has been around. I think Amal Knight had his 30th birthday, or he's going to have his 30th birthday soon. He's 29. So that's just another thing of how young Lexington
yep.
is. They only have one player over the age of 30 type thing. We have some that are in their upper 20s, but in general, they're pretty young side. But this is a big accomplishment because this is his 100th cap in a league that's only existed for now technically four full seasons. If you want to take the half year of this and mush it with the 2020 half year.
Yep. So 4 full seasons, 100 caps, very impressive. But John, let's step outside of the Commonwealth for our last couple of stories here. I promise we're not turning this into an Inter Miami podcast, but Lionel Messi did score in his debut with Inter Miami off of a beautiful set piece play where it just went right over the top of the wall, right into the upper corner of the net. It was a thing to watch. And it was literally all that people were talking about the next day afterwards.
I was
Um,
a little mad over that.
why?
So, okay, so I'm on soccer Twitter, right? And
Uh
soccer
huh.
Twitter is well divided. That was happening at the same time that the women were playing, which you can watch both. I'll fully admit you can watch both, but there was like a bunch of these like from like
Wait,
Bleacher.
no, I did watch both, and literally I think I missed maybe 1 or 2 minutes of the women's game. Like I
Well,
didn't miss
yes,
hardly
I'm
any.
not. I'm not saying like it was bad, but it was like all these tweets from like Bleacher Report, Barstool Football, all that stuff. It's like, where were you when Messi scored this goal? And a bunch of people were like, I was watching the U.S. women's team because, yes, it was an amazing goal. It's his first goal, first game in Miami, but like it's in a League Cup game, kind
Yeah.
of this over, in my opinion, a little overhyped tournament that exists.
Oh yeah, and that's something we can talk about at another day is how this came up because it kind of will intersect into our next story as well. But yeah, it's a League Cup game with another league. It's not like it pushed us into the playoffs all of a sudden or anything like that.
Yes. But this is my question for you. Now, I'm not talking the moment. So, in my opinion, the moment that Messi's moment was much better. It was perfect setup. But whose goal was better? Surely the goal, their opening goal, is Zlatan's or Messi's? And I
So,
prepped you with this earlier so you could actually look up the Zlatan goal just
oh
to
no,
make
I
sure.
knew exactly what you were talking about.
Some people don't. I asked people at the game, the next game, and they're like, "What do you do?" I was like, "Oh, it's a
No,
pretty memorable goal."
yeah, it is because I was also watching that one. I don't know. I have a weird relationship with MLS, especially pre Inter Miami, where if I knew something big was happening, I made time to watch it. But otherwise, I was a Chicago Fire fan at that time. The whole team was on fire because they were awful, not because they were good. But they are apparently better now, so good on them. Um, I definitively. So when you asked me that question earlier, I almost answered you then, but I saved it for now. To me, it's no question. It's Laton's goal. Like
Okay,
that was way more impressive.
okay,
I think I agree with what you said. I think the meaning of Messi's goal was way more, but I think as far as an impressive goal, Zlatan's first goal was just beautiful.
yeah,
Messi's was just classic Messi.
yeah. And for those who don't know what we're talking about, Zlatan, and it was an El Trafico too. Took like
Yes,
a mid bounce volley from probably 40, 35 yards out and buried it.
it might have been further than that. It was out
It was
there.
beyond the halfway. I kind
Yeah.
of looked at it. It's about, you could say 40, 45 in that 10-yard range, and he buried it. Messi is a free kick
Yes.
specialist. Like, that's his
It's
thing.
classic.
For those who don't know, the reason players now lay behind free kick walls is because of Messi. Now, I don't know if I'm not saying this guy, he was the first guy to go, oh, they jump. Maybe if I tuck it under, but he was the first guy to like do that in a,
Perfected.
perfectively. So, and uh, Cruz Azul had that as well in that wall. So, Messi's whole goal was much more important in terms of the state of the U.S. soccer than just in terms of
Agreed.
if you want to pick a Puska award, Zlatan's was much, much better, in
It
my
definitely
opinion.
was. And yeah, Zlatan, what he did in MLS and then to go back to Europe and play was very impressive. Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
Uh,
here we go.
this was an
This was like,
insane shot. And see,
so
he
yeah, he's like
deflected it.
40,
Boom.
and it's lagging a bit for me, so I don't know how well our people can see it, but it was an insane goal.
Yeah. And this is from several years ago, and I'm sure most people have seen that. But
Yeah,
sticking in the MLS here, John, the MLS All Star game happened last week, and I'm sure 5 people watched it. Not only did the match see a significant drop in viewership versus previous years, the MLS All Stars got smacked 5-0 by Arsenal. Um, I read several articles this week about the game and about how fans want to turn back the style, get away from this European opponent kind of a thing, and do the MLS versus Liga MX All Star game. I don't think that's going to happen because of this Leagues Cup that we now have,
yes.
unless you moved it around to where the Leagues Cup happened in the first half of the MLS season, but that doesn't match up with their schedule down in Mexico.
So,
John, your thoughts on the match?
one in general, All Star games across all sports suck.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
do suck. They're just the only one that had any merit, and this is my baseball history coming out. It was baseball for a while because, for those who don't know or who are too young, in baseball, the NL and AL didn't play each other except for in the All-Star game and in the World Series up until 1997. And they're never going back to that. But that was like the
No.
one that had some merit because these teams never played. You actually would get to see Nolan Ryan versus like Reggie Jackson type thing. Like you could see these matchups you would never ever see. So that has some merit. I do not think, in terms of if I was to say the MLS All Star game or All Star event, one, I think with the same thing with the Pro Bowl, it just needs to go to a skills competition, just
Yeah,
overall
but that's
skills
just
competition. They're just
so much
more,
less interesting.
to me, they're more interesting to watch the skills competition because I'm like, I already know these athletes can like play with world class players and play a game of soccer. I want to see goalie wars. I want to see volley thing, which Kyle Havertz, I could have scored a volley in that. I suck. I
Yeah.
genuinely suck. How do you, as this like Champions League winning legendary player for
How
Chelsea,
do you
can't
miss
even
that?
score a volley undefended? Yes, you had a keeper, but none of his shots were even close for the keeper to like
No.
warrant. Granted,
And the keepers
he
weren't
did
going
get it.
all out.
He did get it back because he got a goal, a volley goal in the actual match in those god awful uniforms they were wearing.
They were so bad.
I
Why?
don't
Why?
I don't understand with some Premier League teams why they go so bad. Like they're not even recognizable. Like Manchester City wearing red and black.
That's just ironic.
Manchester United's gonna wear like green and white as an away
Yeah,
kit
I don't.
next year. It's stupid. Anyways, I digress. The MLS needs to not invite some other league team to come play. It just needs you're about to go to 30 teams. Do what every other American sport does
Yep.
for their All-Star game. Because one, we're the only country that does All-Star games,
Yeah.
East versus West. Just do
Yep.
it, get it over with. Even if you want, do the NBA. Do do the NBA and vote captains
Do oh my
and do a
god, the guy
draft.
for not Angel City. Holy crap. LAFC. Oh my god, I'm dropping his name. Scores
David
all the
Villa.
Vila. Do like Team Vila, Team Messi. Done.
Well, it'd be Acosta. It'd be Acosta this year. You know, you have to actually be in the
Well,
playoffs to be a captain
no, I'm saying for next year.
and play an MLS game.
No, for next year, dang it. That's what I'm calling.
But yeah,
Messi, Vila.
either do captains and let them draft, or do East versus West, because it we need to stop inviting in European teams on their preseason tour,
Yeah. It
which
just makes us look worse, right? Like,
it looks
oh, these are
stupid.
your best.
It looks stupid because even in general, it's just different, and like All-Star games are stupid now. They
Yeah.
were cool then, back when you couldn't watch everybody and everybody could watch. That All-Star games was like the mid-season nationally televised game for baseball. Again, baseball is the reason we have All-Star games in any other sport, because baseball was America's pastime and everyone copied it. But then it's since it's become boring. The NBA, it's become boring. The dunk contest used to be good, and then they figured every dunk out, and now it's just like
Or it's just
I don't.
too outside of the game where you're jumping over a car or something, right? Like,
Well, I'm fine with the jumping over the car. I'm fine with that. But that's the thing. That jumping over the car happened 10, 11 years ago now. Like, what's a
shut
guy
up.
going to
I
do
know I'm
now?
old. Don't remind
Hey,
me.
listen, I love that era. But what's a guy going to do now? He has to jump over two cars, jump
He's
over like
got
a
to be evil
Hummer.
Knievel.
Like it just gets it gets to the point where it becomes more and more stupid, and
Yep.
that's kind of where the MLS All-Star game is going. If you want to keep it in a sense, do East versus West, do captain thing, but in my opinion, stop playing any sort of defense. Just start sending stupid shots.
Yep.
Keepers need to like just play like wait for the last second. You can make it interesting to the point where it's just like playing playground and you get people are just trying to have fun, like the NBA does with their very boring All-Star game, or just do away with
Absolutely.
it in general. and just give the players a week break. Just give the players a break. Don't let them play. Give them a much needed rest. I'm sure they would rather prefer that, and I'm sure the fans would rather prefer that overall.
Yeah, and unfortunately, though, because of American culture and because of those green things, money, I don't think they'll just give them a week off. They'll always have something. Speaking of making greenbacks, Christian Pulisic, Captain America himself, has officially signed and at this point has now played with AC Milan.
And he looked really good for AC Milan.
Boy,
And
howdy did he!
they did lose to Real Madrid in a preseason, but he
Right,
looked really good. Also, what's his face? I forget. An ESPN analyst passed
Skip
out.
Bayless.
No, Skip Bayless was Fox. There was an ESPN sideline report. He passed
Taylor
out
Twellman.
while no, I'm forgetting his name. It starts with an S. He passed out while giving like the pre-report. Like he starts stumbling and he like collapses. That thing.
Jeez.
Apparently he's okay. From all accounts, he's okay. I don't remember fully what happened to that, but that happened before that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Pulisic is to Milan. There's some other moves out there. If you haven't been following necessarily all the USMNT, Brendan Aronson's going to Union Berlin from Leeds, which I think is a very much step up for him, even if he's going out of the Premier
Sure.
League, because Union Berlin's going to do better, and he has a chance to face his brother now in the Bundesliga.
Now
Tim
that is
Way,
the interesting story to me of that.
yeah, Tim Weah joins rival club to his dad, Juventus from Lille, because his dad played for Milan.
Hmm.
Um, but Tim Weah joins Juventus. Ricardo Pepi is going to PSV from Augsburg, and then these are rumors. Currently, is Weston McKennie to Borussia Dortmund to join Giovanni Reyna because, according to Juventus, he's no longer part of their future plans. And then Yunus Musa is also rumored to go to Milan from Valencia.
Well done,
So there's
John.
some big old moves that could happen in the sense that of going to top caliber teams. All these teams that these players have joined are either Champions League or Champions League qualification besides Juventus, but that's outside of Tim Weah's control, and that was
Right.
more because Juventus was lying about their books. But
Which is a totally like mind blowing thing. I mean, the Washington Commanders owner just got canned for that same thing.
yes, but Juventus would have, I believe, would have finished second, I think, if they kept their points tally. So they're very much still a great side
Yeah.
type thing. Borussia Dortmund is, I think, for McKennie is much better than riding the bench at Juventus, and then Milan is much better than Valencia. Even though they're a
Absolutely.
Spanish power, they're not that big of a Spanish power. But some big moves, and these are moves that are needed with this whole thing coming in a World Cup. Our starting 11, especially. I'm very curious if Matt Turner leaves Arsenal, if he doesn't get
You
minutes
would think,
anymore.
right?
He needs in my opinion, Matt Turner has two options. He needs to either ask for a loan where he can play and get minutes, or he needs to leave and become a first choice keeper somewhere else. Because I don't know, but there's also that kid at Chelsea who is an American who's 18 that could not. The job is Matt Turner's to lose right now for the
Oh
U.S.,
yeah.
but we'll see what happens in 3 years.
And we will see you all on Wednesday because that will do it for another great episode of Bluegrass Soccer Cast. I want to always thank you all for joining us and watching along, listening along. Please make sure that you're following BG Soccer Cast on all of your favorite social media sites: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads, if Threads isn't dead by now. Or I guess it's not Twitter anymore. It's called X, apparently. I don't know. I haven't. Anyways,
So
uh,
that's funny because on like the website, it's turned to X and everything is
yeah.
on X. But at least on my iPhone, and I've checked for updates, they have not updated it to where the bird changes for X.
Right.
I don't know, Elon. It's become like Musk's like weird ADHD child.
You
Is
could say
what it's
that again.
become, but it's still better than Threads, and I will die on that hill right now. So
Absolutely. But make sure you're also listening to us on all your favorite audio platforms such as Spotify, Apple, Google, YouTube, and everything else. And as always, I'm Jimmy, that's John, and we will see you on the next one.